It's November the 15th, 2012, and my name's Stephen Bell, and I bought a 62 Maserati 3500 GTI off Colm here about maybe 2 years ago.
Yes, about 2 years.
Hopefully you can remember some dates and how you acquired the car
Well,
and
I have difficulty in dates for a very good reason. After I had my open heart surgery, I had serious TIAs. TIAs are strokes that
okay.
don't bleed.
Okay.
But I lost my abilities to speak for 6 months and lost a whole lot of other things at the same time. I met Eric Schaefer through aircraft electronics. Eric Schaefer married an Italian girl from Modena,
Okay.
whose brother was an engineer in the factory. Eric bought a used car at the factory, and I believe he bought it for $3,500.
This particular car.
This particular car. And when he went to collect it, they said, "Oh no, we have to zero it out, make it perfect first."
Oh.
So that's why I believe it's got a serial, a different number serial head. I mean, a different serial number cylinder head than the block.
Okay.
I know that for a fact.
Okay, because of what the factory did.
The factory did that. What has always amazed me is that I believe it's the brake pedal, shows a lot of wear. When you get into a car and somebody tells you it's only had 7,000 miles since the factory, you shouldn't have angle wear on the brake
No.
pedal.
Did they tell you when you bought it, Colm, when you bought the car, did they tell you it had 7,000 miles on the car?
I bought the car from Eric with practically the mileage it has on now.
Okay.
I think that shows 7,000, around 7,000.
I think it's 7 or 17,000 maybe.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
yes. Eric ran the car for a while. I knew him while he had the car. He, at that period of his life, was spending a lot of time going to Las Vegas and back.
From Los Angeles?
From Los Angeles.
Okay.
And with no speed limits on the roads, he used to like to wind it up and go to Las Vegas.
Well, that's what a Maserati's for.
Exactly. I mean, did he ever buy the right car? You know?
Yes.
Yes. And then he had fuel pump problems. And then he had poor advice on the maintenance of it or the troubleshooting of the fuel system. He didn't have fuel pump problems. The car started to run rough on him. And I found out why later. The vacuum brake system, diaphragm, was leaking.
Mm-hmm.
It was leaking brake fluid
Into the booster.
down six-cylinder intake port. Is where the vacuum booster suction was taken. And it was sucking hydraulic fluid into the intake valve stem. And the intake valve was stuck open.
Oh.
It was
Okay.
originally periodically it would stick, and then finally when it sat around and he gave it to me, so I established that.
So when you bought it off him, it was not running very well?
Oh no, it wasn't running. No, it wasn't.
It
No.
wasn't running at all?
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no. And he had put the new electric pump in it at that time. Okay.
Okay.
Now it was sitting parked in his garage.
When did you buy it off him? What? I mean, I know you're foggy on dates, but is it 10 years ago, 20 years, 25 years, 70s, 80s? Did you ever get it running
Oh,
for
yes.
yourself?
Oh,
and,
yes.
And you used it?
Well,
a
I
little bit?
used it for a short while I was troubleshooting it
Okay.
and realizing what was wrong. Okay. Now, at the same time, I had the months, and my wife had a Chrysler station wagon, so we weren't short of transportation.
No.
No, we've never been short of transportation.
Yeah.
We've always had, the quality of the transportation has been questionable quite a number of times. But the car sat on the driveway for quite a while, and when I ran the car, it always had overheating troubles. Okay. Eric had told me this in the beginning, that he had overheating problems. So then I established that the intake valve was hanging up, and I pulled the head.
Would that, the intake valve would cause heat?
No,
No.
no. Well, usually it wouldn't cause
No.
an intake valve would,
No.
but a stuck exhaust valve might.
Yeah.
But I pulled the head to get at the valve, and I found a certain amount of pitting on the head. And we took 6 thou off the head, and it cleaned up. Then I put in new fire rings,
Mm-hmm.
new gasket, put the whole thing together, as advised by the Maserati gurus around.
Yes.
I did a limited dry run on it. Started it up and ran it without any water in it,
Yeah.
and then retorqued the head.
That's normal. Yeah.
Yes. And just about then, I had my heart problem, because I've got a Porker valve in my aorta. Okay. So just about then I had the heart trouble, and
So everything got put on ice,
I felt
including you.
yes, including me. I thought I was gone. So I had too many things on it.
Unfinished.
Yes, and I was building my antennas at that time.
Yeah.
I had just designed the antennas and the antenna, and see, I designed and patented an antenna for the C-130,
Oh.
an HF antenna.
Wow.
Extremely
Wow.
capable, very, very efficient. It was a wonderful thing.
Wow.
Okay, and it was terribly simple, but it was a
So, yeah.
see,
Well, that's awesome.
we've so far, with my partner, we've sold 45 of them,
Congratulations.
and we haven't had one
Foul up.
foul-up return, one maintenance problem.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
so it's been very successful, but
So the car sat from then on.
the car sat in my shop in North Hollywood, or
Okay.
in there.
You had it in a container or something, did you?
I had it in the shop there,
Yes.
and then I moved it up to see, when I had my heart problems, I basically said to Dylan, my grandson,
Yes.
he was interested in it. I said, take it, Dylan, and see if it's a project that you can handle. But I said, it's a very much bigger project than you realize.
Mm.
Now,
They even are to us restorers.
Hmm?
They
Oh.
even are to us restorers.
are you kidding?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done a lot of work on vehicles, and I know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
The body of it was in excellent shape.
Yeah, that's because it's been in a dry climate all its life.
Yes, that's right.
Mm.
That's right.
And you've got that Corazera
Yeah.
touring body, aluminum body,
Yes.
wrapped around a
Lovely
steel
thing. Yes.
steel a platform.
Frame.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the brake system gave me troubles. And I had started to pull the master cylinder when I could say that was the last thing I did to it before I had my heart problems. And I had to shut down the shop and everything, and it was,
Sure.
you know,
Bit of chaos.
yes, when you go through that, it's,
Oh, yeah. Nothing matters. Materialism doesn't matter.
that's right. So, since then, I've got a pacemaker.
You're doing fine.
As I say, I've got artificial eyes, I've got artificial ears, I've got an artificial valve, I've got an artificial heart timer, and the next time I go in, I'm going to check the box for artificial intelligence.
So you're semi-bionic here.
Yeah. So anyway,
Good.
so the brakes are a very, they were girly and they were frozen up when I got the car.
Yes, from lack of use.
Yes, yeah. And Eric had a slope on his garage floor, so he always set his handbrake, and the
Okay.
handbrake cables froze up.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
so it was difficult.
Where did Eric, where did he acquire the car?
Eric bought it at the factory.
At the factory?
At the factory,
And
through his brother-in-law, and it had been used, I believe, as a test car in the factory.
Okay. And so he imported the car.
He imported the car, and I saw the import paperwork once when I went out to talk to Eric about it.
Is Eric still around?
No,
No.
he's dead.
Okay.
He had cancer. And Eric's wife, Eric had cancer, and he set up a foundation to take care of his wife because his wife had lost her mental capabilities.
Okay.
She was a lovely girl, but she had lost her mental capabilities. And
And
he imported it.
In the 60s or in the...
He imported it. I believe it was bought in '62.
Okay. Wow.
See, that car was
So
built.
you're the second owner.
That's right. I was the second owner.
Yeah.
That car was built from about '59 on.
Correct.
Yes, and
Actually 50, I think even 58 there were some.
yes,
Yeah.
okay. So he imported it as a '62, and got the. I remember seeing the
California pink slip.
yes, but the import
Papers. Yeah.
authority to import it
Yeah.
without smog
Yes.
because it was
Old enough.
yeah, or the less than 5 ever imported or some
Yes.
reason like that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Wow. Now, who painted it? Did he paint it?
He
with
painted it.
over the silver. It looks like it was silver originally.
Yes, he painted it with a Cadillac silver
Yeah.
that wasn't
No.
suitable at all.
Yeah.
The only thing that I have found that lasts in California on the aluminum bodies is a good polyurethane.
Did the and so he commuted. He went back and forth to Las Vegas. So he had a lot of fun with it.
Yes,
And
but it gave him trouble very early
early on.
in his life, and there was nobody here who understood Maseratis.
All these cars, all the British cars, the German cars, the Italian cars, that's why they became cars sitting around in the 80s and the 90s. Because by the time the 70s hit, they had some mileage on them, and the part supply was minuscule, the knowledge was minuscule.
And the manuals even were difficult to understand.
Of course, Italian.
Yes.
And they didn't write everything in them. And so American owners took them to their regular mechanic who knew nothing about them.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they screwed them up even more.
Sure.
And so these cars become, that's why all these barn finds now in America rose up, and there were hundreds and thousands of them
Yeah.
in the
And
late
actually-
80s and the 90s.
Actually, as an airplane mechanic, I had a better chance of maintaining it than
Anybody.
anybody. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I had little experience with Italian and French and German cars in Ireland before I ever left. I didn't own them, but I had experience. Well, I did. I owned an Adler.
An Atla.
Me and Adolf Hitler. Now, wait now, let's get back to
Yeah.
the heating problem.
Yeah.
Then, when I realized I had a heating problem, I started to go through everything. I look for a blockage or for anything. I took the water pump off, and I found that there had been serious electrolysis take place between the bronze impeller and the aluminum casting of the water pump, and all the fins, the fixed
Yes.
fins of
Yes.
the water pump.
Of the impeller. Yeah.
No, the impeller
Yes.
goes around, but the fixed fins of the water pump
Yes.
that
Yes.
the impeller plays against.
Yes.
Well, they were all corroded back to almost nothing.
Wow.
So I took them.
The castings from Italy weren't as good as like the castings that the British made.
Okay, that may be very true.
That's typical of Ferrari and Maserati.
Is that right?
Yeah, the castings in Italy were never quite as good.
Well,
I don't think anyway.
I took that particular water pump and I took it to a competent, specialized welder, and he built it up.
Yes.
And then we put it in the lathe and we turned it down to fit.
Yes.
So I don't say that it's a right water pump. It's
Remanufactured.
Huh?
Remanufactured
yes,
by
yeah.
the Irish.
Exactly, with Irish manufacturing. Yeah. So to recap the history of the car, it was bought by Eric Schaefer in Modena in about 62. It had been used for some purpose by the factory. And they, before they delivered it to Eric, they did a complete major inspection of it and replaced whatever was necessary. And at that time, I believe, and Eric believes, they zeroed the speedometer. So what's on the speedometer now does not really reflect what was on the car, but what was on the car since it left the factory.
I understand. Okay.
Eric put, I don't know how, I can't remember how many thousand miles on it. And then he put it in his garage. And he got some other high-powered car that suited him.
Mm.
And the Maz sat in his garage until
What city? Los Angeles.
Agura, just out here a bit.
Okay, in the desert.
I just state for the record that I have seen the import paperwork and the original registration.
Okay.
And I even remember the folder it was in. Okay, it was a bright yellow folder. It's funny how you remember things like that.
Yes. Yes.
So then, when I picked up the car, Eric gave me another folder, and he said, "There's all the paperwork." And at the time, Eric was seriously battling with cancer, and it was no day to be bugging him about anything.
No.
So then I put at the most a couple of thousand miles on the car.
Not enough.
No, not enough. But I sure did enjoy driving it. Now, I used to think that Mercedes were built on rails, and that my old Jag was built on rails. But this was an amazing car. The stability of it is just fantastic. No, I redid the seats.
Yeah.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. When I got it from Eric, the first thing I did is I sat in the car and the seats all split.
Sure.
So I had a good in at an outfit in Long Beach called Carrier Aircraft, who did executive aircraft. And Bob and I were good friends. We'd done a lot of business together. So I gave him the car. Did I? Yes, I gave him the whole car. Yes, I drove it down there. And they redid the seats in high-class leather. You know, February of 2002, I was rushed into hospital for my aorta valve replacement. I fortunately recovered very rapidly from that, and 2 or 3 months later I was back clearing out the shop and shutting it down.
This was your engineering
Yeah,
Mechanical.
R&D shop, yes, yeah,
aircraft.
yes. Yeah. And of course the Maserati was in the corner of that shop. And I sent it on a tow truck setup out to Sheila's. And
Who's your daughter?
yes, my daughter, and I had already positioned a container up there, and we put it in the container. And then it sat there for a couple of years. We played with it a bit, and then we took it out of the container and put it in her garage. Dylan, who is her eldest son, is now in college doing engineering. But he had no idea at his age how big a job the restoration of any car is. It doesn't matter what car. I mean, huh?
Expensive too.
Exactly, yeah,
Expensive.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that gives you a rundown on that.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome.